My name is Banji Dada from Ibaka Journal. With me is one of the How boys who contributed immensely in developing the Manifesto of Unity Party of Nigeria in the Second Republic. He is a renowned historian, a former senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, ex-commissioner in the whole Ondo State, an elder statesman, a proud Yoruba man, and a patriotic Nigeria par excellence. This is no other person than Professor Banji Akintoye. You are welcome, sir. From now.
Thank you very much.
As someone with full knowledge of Nigeria, where we're coming from and where we are, can you please share your thoughts with us on what the future holds for Nigeria vis-a-vis the coming election, sir?
Well, the most important thing at this moment, at this very moment, is that we have peaceful elections. We would like to have free, fair, peaceful elections. But as we very well know, it's not easy to get free and fair elections in Nigeria. But we must appeal to our people, whether it's free and fair or not, we must keep our country peaceful. There is nothing that Nigerians gain from violence in our land. We have done it over and over and over and over many times. And Nigeria continues to sink and decline. And the quality of leadership continues to decline terribly. And so there is no reason really why Nigerians should be so excited about any candidate that they will go and begin to kill one another and burn one another's properties. There is no reason for it. So the general appeal in the world today, the general worry in the world today is that Nigeria is heading towards some very major violence and bloodletting. May it not happen.
Amen.
Yeah, that's that's the most important thing at this point. Even the President of America came out a few hours ago to appeal to Nigerians directly. It's an unusual action by the President of America to be speaking directly to the people of Nigeria. And all he had to say is, please make this your election peaceful and make it free and fair, but above all, peaceful. So we Nigerians should take that hit, because there is a lot of passion that has been whipped up in Nigeria. Many of our leaders have been talking violence, threatening war, and some are known to have been importing and hoarding weapons. If we really go into fighting this time, if we really go into attacking one another this time, it's going to be terrible for our country. So the first thing, therefore, the first and most important thing, therefore, to say to Nigerians at this point is, please go and vote. If you have the registration to vote, go out and vote. After you have voted, go home. And don't let anybody draw you into violence or violent action. That's all.
Of lately, we've been seeing series of endorsements. We also heard about the endorsement of the Afenifere, the one that endorsed President Jonathan. What is your attitude towards this endorsement, sir?
This particular Afenifere endorsement? Well, Afenifere is a very influential old Yoruba movement. And what they say is important in Yoruba land. It would have been better for them not to endorse anybody, but just promote the Yoruba expectations in the politics of Nigeria. But they must have had their reason for endorsing a candidate. And one reason that we hear them talk about often is that they believe that Jonathan, being the person who set up the national conference, is likely to be the candidate more, it may be the candidate who is more likely to implement the the minimum amount of national reconstruction that the National Conference proposed. We don't know whether this is going to be so. Jonathan has been president for 6 years. He came from the area of Nigeria. I have written a lot of articles on this matter. Jonathan comes from one of the areas where the desire for reconstruction of the Nigerian Federation has been the strongest, where young men have come out in the open and fought for the idea of reconstruction, and where they have given their lives and died fighting for reconstruction. President Jonathan comes from there, and the natural expectation of those of us who were observing him and who supported him when there was some doubt as to whether he should become, he as vice president should replace his boss who had just died. When he became president, we were very excited. Now here comes a chance to restructure Nigeria. He didn't do anything about it. In fact, at the beginning, he sounded as if he was opposed to the idea. He said at some point, for instance, if people had wanted reconstruction should have been done in 1914, not now. And, so it is not sure that President Jonathan really has a desire to for reconstruction. But our elders and fathers have spoken. But we are Yoruba. We Yoruba, we love our right of choice. We want to choose. We are a very ancient civilization. We have been selecting our rulers for 1,000 years. We break into factions when we select our rulers. But when the selection is over, we close ranks and the community moves forward again. That's the way we do it. So it doesn't mean that if I, one of the elders of Yoruba land, now come out and say, I endorse Jonathan or I endorse this other candidate, that's what my own son is going to do. So it is their right to endorse whoever they want. But we Yoruba people, it is our right to choose and vote for whatever candidate we want. And I don't think we should, that there is anything wrong with that. We are very thoroughly democratic people. When the elections are over, our fathers must be our fathers again. They cannot tell us whom to vote for. They have endorsed one candidate, but we are free to choose to vote for any candidate.
Thank you very much, sir. The next question would be that, politicians are fond of going to traditional rulers for endorsement during elections. And quite often, the endorsement generates controversies, just as the case of the Afenifere here. This is understandable because the endorsement of the traditional rulers may not necessarily represent the wishes of the ruled. What is your advice, sir, to the traditional rulers and the politicians in this regard?
Well, and this is mostly, we are talking of the Southwest. One of our most serious failings in the Southwest in modern times has been that our failure to create a proper place, proper role, proper position for our traditional rulers, our Abbas, in the modern dispensation of democratic government. We have not looked at it. We have not done anything about it. In the 1950s, under Chief Awolowo, a start was made when we started with elected local governments, and we made the traditional rulers the presidents of them and so on. That was some position. And then we created a House of Chiefs where the chiefs, our traditional rulers, could express themselves. But since 1966, all of that has been destroyed. And now our Obas have no place, no exact place at all. The result that the young men who become elected as governors exercise authority and manipulate the kings and even insult them. Yeah, we know that that's the truth. And politicians feel free to manipulate them to get them to endorse particular candidates at election and so on and so forth. And when they do that, unfortunately, it hurts their image because the average Yoruba person in the street doesn't want the Obas to be messed around. And when the Obas are messed around like that, it hurts the image of the Obas, and the Yoruba people are angry about that. So the answer really is that we need to sit down. We Yoruba people need to sit down and construct for ourselves. If the proposals made by the National Conference are implemented, then it will be possible for each Yoruba state to create its own constitution. And it must be one of the things that we will look at to see how we make our Obas proper part of the governance of this land. It is not right. You cannot reject your roots. The Obas have been our leaders, the guides of the Yoruba nation, our leaders and our guides, our rulers, the quintessence of our political tradition for 1,000 years. You don't just jettison them, just leave them to float in some void. No, we need to arrange our life, our political life, in order to, in some way, to inculcate our traditional rulers into the system. Our not doing so is hurting us, and it will continue to hurt us. It makes the Obas vulnerable. It means that people from other parts of Nigeria can come and manipulate our own Obas against us, and that is foolish. To leave such a powerful agency of your history and traditions for other people to come and manipulate is folly of the highest order. We must respect them. We must make sure that they are not available for manipulating by political parties, and that they play their roles as fathers of the Yoruba nation. That's very important.
How about the governors as relates to their manipulations? A lot of them within their states, they want all the Obas to kowtow them and just fall in line with whatever they say it is. How can the Oba have a level of independence when the governors, they have the power to remove them?
Well, in the present constitution, the governor is a dictator, period. The governor is a dictator the president is a dictator in the federal government, and the governor is a dictator in the states. And as long as the situation is like that, the Obas will be treated the way they are being treated now. I don't think there's no way of patching it around. This presidential system, the people who gathered in 1978 and decided that Nigeria will have a presidential system were acting under the auspices, under the umbrella of the military rulers. And they were also acting in a time when it was known that Nigeria was producing a lot of money in oil, and the idea was to create a powerful federal government that controlled that money and become the distributor of it to the elite. And that's what has been happening. The result is that we Nigerians have produced a lot of money from oil, and the federal government has sat over it and used it to produce poverty in Nigeria. That's what is happening. So as long as this governor and president and so on are there, there's no going forward for we Yoruba people.
Okay.
I can never feel comfortable with this idea of president and governor and so on. If we had our own country, we could never touch a presidential system. And we are not a republic either. We're a monarchical people. We will find ways to create a country in which there will be a parliamentary democracy, where there will be joint responsibility of many leaders at the head of government, all of them respecting our traditional rulers.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Let us go to the issue on Yoruba agenda. You are a firm believer of Yoruba agenda, and in fact the patron of Odua Foundation?
There is this noxious belief in some quarters of Nigeria that the nationality should be suppressed, should be repressed, should be destroyed, so that there will be created what they call a Nigerian mainstream, that is a sort of general mixture of Nigeria, which is impossible, which cannot happen. Look at the history of the countries like Britain. Britain has been a country of many nations, of a number of nations for 600, 700 years. And the people, the separate nations are still distinct. The English are still the English. The Scots are still the Scots. The Welsh are still the Welsh. And the Irish are still the Irish. So the idea that you can make the Yoruba disappear, or you can make the Igbo disappear, or you can make the Hausa Fulani disappear is a fallacy. It will not happen. It's a futile effort. But it's not just futile. It's not just futile. It's also dangerous in the sense that it creates conflict in Nigeria. So the idea of the Yoruba agenda then is that we make each people, as much as possible, we create a proper federation based upon the nationalities. And we make each nationality, as much as possible, a state in the federation. Where there is a spread, a contiguous spread of small nationalities, we help them to negotiate among them. You don't force any nationality into any state. You help them to negotiate among them to create their own state, to create their own constitution, a constitution acceptable to every one of the small nationalities. Where there is a large nationality like the Yoruba, the Igbo, the Edo, the Jaw, and so on. Then you let the Kanuri, you let those people each form a state of its own in the Nigerian Federation. The second thing, the Yoruba agenda, is that we de-emphasize the federal government. The federal government is too powerful. The military boys, with the support of a section of the Nigerian political elite, created an overpowerful federal government. We need to reduce the power of the federal government. We need to reduce its control over resources. We need to let each area control its own resources. We need to let the financial resources of every section stay there for the development. So what we have now is unacceptable to the Yoruba people. Absolutely. Other people may not see it as we see it, as strongly as we see it. That is a pity. But it is something we can never give up. Because our people want development. Our people, every Yoruba parent is ready to pauperize himself, to begin to wear lower quality rags, clothes, so as to be able to put money together to send his children to school. That's the Yoruba. We want a modern, developing country. We want to rival Britain. We want to rival Europe. We want to rival Japan. We want to rival the United States of America. That's what the Yoruba people want. We want a modern technological state. And we can never feel satisfied. People say, oh, you Yoruba, you complain. We will complain. We will complain because we are being forced into standards that are not acceptable to our people. We cannot live in the type of country that Nigeria is. Now, we want it to change. And the way to change it is to restructure it so each people can move forward at their own pace.
Thank you very much. That is loaded. Going forward, in your opinion, sir, which group or people can we regard as true Yoruba leaders? And what is the process of choosing them? How do they emerge? That is the Yoruba leadership.
Well, as I said, we are an ancient people. We have our own traditions of leadership and the way people emerge and become leaders in our society. Traditionally, we chose our chiefs from an elite of character, successful men, heads of respectable families, the well-to-do, the more comfortable citizens. It is they who contest for chieftaincy in their families and win, usually, and so on. That's the way we used to create our leaders. But in modern times, it is mostly from among these people, the boys and girls who've been to school, because that is the way the British, when they left Nigeria, they left it in the hands of the modern, educated people. And so in Yoruba land, it is the modern, educated people that we choose from for leaders. And you become a leader by just being helpful in your local area. All politics is local. If you, a young man, you are born in a particular town or village and you show interest in the affairs of the town and you are contributing to the welfare of the people, you end up becoming a leader in the locality. That's how most of our leaders arose in modern times. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. So I know you to be an Ekiti man from Ado Ekiti, and I think we should come.
I'm still an Ekiti man.
Yes, sir. So we should come closer home now. Sir, while agitating for creation of Ekiti State, we had high hopes that Ekiti would be a model state, judging by the level of human resources and intellectuals from Ekiti land. Now, 29 years after, what are your thoughts about the development in Ekiti State? Are you satisfied with the progress made so far? What did we do right and what did we do wrong?
The Yoruba leadership is supremely orientated towards development. Because the traditional Yoruba view of government is that government exists only and solely for the welfare of the people. So when you read the history of the Yorubas, you see the 19th century, one European explorer comes to Yoruba land, the first one to enter the interior of Yoruba land. He travels, he says, oh wow, this is a unique country in Africa. There are towns at short distances from one another. The roads connecting the towns are as level as the bowling green. That's what he said. And in many places are watched very carefully by armed guards put there by the government. It says in the streets, the government officials protect peace in the marketplaces and so on. That is the Yoruba idea of government. And here the traditional thing in every palace is almost every day. The chiefs and the king are meeting and discussing the welfare of their people, consulting the oracles, making sacrifices so that the rains will come, so that the farmers will have good harvests. Workers will not have accidents in their places of work. Market women will sell and make profit in the marketplace. Young women who are bearing children will bear many children, so the population of the town will grow. So that the town they will say Yaudi, that it go break down its town walls and build houses beyond the town walls. That's the Yoruba idea of government. A government that is watching over the welfare of its people all the time. But now, we are part of a country in which more and more, increasingly, the objective of government is not to serve the welfare of the people, it's to occupy big position, be in control of resources, command everybody around, and just do what you like. And at the end of 4 years in office, go away as a rich person. and be a rich person for the rest of your life, a multi-billionaire, and so on. Yesterday you were a teacher. 4 years later, you are a billionaire. That's the way it is. And the Yoruba people are angry about that. The Yoruba people are angry about that. They know that it is Nigeria that is making that happen. It is Nigeria that makes it possible. There is no way a ruler of the Yoruba people properly, without any infestation of the ideas and norms and standards of Nigeria, could ever become a rich man from being a governor or president for 4 years. It is not possible. The Yoruba people are different in that respect. We could never let it happen. And so it is just part of the general Yoruba experience. It is just part of the general Yoruba experience. Yeah, our governors still perform better than most governors in Nigeria. Sure, our governors still perform better, but they don't. But the totality of their performance is not as good as the Yoruba people would want it to be.
So, are you satisfied with where Ekiti State is today?
I am not. But that is not a criticism of any particular person.
Okay.
It is a cumulative development. We have reached a point now at which there is a lot to worry about concerning Ekiti State. But I repeat, it's not because of any particular governor. It is the gradual decline that has been happening over since 1966.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Let's look at Chief Awolowo briefly. And I know you work very closely with him, and you have so much respect for him. And when we look at his leadership qualities, what are the things you think we can do to groom more people of his ilk in this present generation?
Yeah, Chief Awolowo was a wonderful example to young people like me especially after he came back from Calabar in 1966, and I was a young lecturer in Ife, and he gathered us around him, and we started to put together the ideas of a Nigeria that will be rich, technologically highly developed, the black man's world power of modern times. Those were the ambitions that motivated our creating the Unity Party of Nigeria. And if you read the manifesto of the party and the position papers that we wrote at the time, you will see all of that very beautifully expressed there. The result is that the presence of Awolowo and the creation of the Unity Party of Nigeria resulted in the emergence of large numbers of young people who are dedicated to the service of their country and who are knowledgeable, not just dedicated to the service of their country, but very knowledgeable. It was part of our tradition in the Awolowo group, for instance, to be continually discussing and debating ideas of development. We were always busy talking about ideas. And we were also, those of us who were academics who had the chances to travel, we were also encouraged to travel around the world and see how other people are managing their affairs. The result is that for somebody like me, traveling and seeing how people are developing in other lands became a passion. So I was in Brazil, I was in Argentina, I was in the Philippines, I was in Indonesia, in Japan, in South Korea, in Thailand, Taiwan, and so on. The reason is we wanted to know how these people are achieving success. And we were ready. We were ready to build a country. So when we contested the election, by 1979, we were absolutely ready to build a great nation. And we used to say among ourselves, we don't need more than 4 years. In 4 years, we would have built a country that nobody can can mess around with anymore. That nobody can mess around with in any way. Unfortunately, we won the election, and we were told we didn't win the election. And the rest is history.
So how do we groom more people like that in this generation, sir?
Well, it has to be, Nigeria cannot do it. Nigeria as an entity cannot groom leaders. The ethos in Nigeria is self, the service of the self. Everybody, every significant person, wakes up thinking, how will I get a little more of the money, of the oil money today? That's all. So people go to the National Assembly to serve themselves. People go into the federal government to serve themselves. People go into state government to serve themselves. That's why Nigeria is characterized by the most knowledgeable people in the world as one of the most corrupt countries on earth ever in the history of man. And a lot of business people don't want to think about investment in Nigeria. In fact, a lot of them, if they have investment, they are running away with the investment, in spite of all the oil money. The oil money ought to be a magnet, drawing resources and investment into Nigeria. But it is not so, because people are afraid of Nigeria. A young man wrote a book, a young American who visited Nigeria wrote a book. He said, tourists don't go to Nigeria. Business people are afraid to put their resources there, to put their money there. And the only ones who put their money there in investment are those who have the resources to separate their workers from the rest of Nigeria. That's the way Nigeria is. It has to change. It has to change. In fact, one of the reasons that the election that is coming now is becoming a major source of fear to the world is that the corruption has infested Nigeria so much that nothing is ever straight, no line is ever straight in Nigeria again. Elections, people are talking of secret means of rigging elections and so on and so forth. Go to Nigeria, talk to any Nigerian. The great concern of his mind is that his rulers are going to crook up things. They are always crooking things up, and they will crook whatever it is up. So the fear about the coming election is that somebody is going to crook it up somehow, and that it is going to lead to trouble. Yeah, that's the problem with Nigeria.
Thank you very much, sir. Finally, this will be about you, sir. I have the privilege of knowing that you are 80 years, and it's amazing how energetic you are. Please, can you share the secret with us? The secret of the perpetual youthfulness, the energy, and because it's amazing to know that you are 80 years old, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Well, it's a gift of God, It's a gift of God, and also the wisdom to stay away from certain things is also a gift of God. I try to stay away from from certain types of food. I try to stay with the simpler types of food, more natural, less processed types of food, and I do a minimum of exercises every day, little. Not much. I'm not the athletic type. I've never been. But I do shake myself up a little for a few minutes every day, every morning, every night, and so on. Above all, one thing that Chief Awolowo used to say to us, whatever you do, don't let poisonous ideas into your life. Don't hate people. Don't let hatred be part of your life, of your being. Because if you let hatred become part of your being, hatred, animosity, and so on, it will corrode you. I try to stay away from such things. I am a happy person. I'm grateful for what God has done for me. I do not particularly regret about what I don't have. I rejoice about what I have. And that makes me a happy person.
Thank you so much, sir. It has been a great time with you, and I look forward to another opportunity to tap in from your deep wealth of knowledge. And I pray that God will keep you for us for a long time to come. So once again, thank you very much for the time, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.